The Iranians are lying about their nuclear weapons program, and they can never be trusted. This according to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who today claimed he's got the evidence to prove it. And now the president says it proves he's 100% right about Iran and that bad deal. So will he pull out of that nuclear pact? Netanyahu made the dramatic allegations in a primetime address in Israel. But if you read between the lines, it was aimed squarely at the White House. So how does the prime minister know the Iranians are up to no good? His spies stole some secret documents. Watch.
Now, from the outside, this was an innocent-looking compound. It looks like a dilapidated warehouse. But from the inside, it contained Iran's secret atomic archives locked in massive files. Actually, they're a little bigger than this, okay? A few weeks ago, in a great intelligence achievement, Israel obtained half a ton of the material inside these vaults.
Well, that's not good. But it is important to point out that Netanyahu did not provide the evidence that Iran has violated that 2015 deal. He says it is proof Iranian leaders covered up a nuclear weapons program before signing it. So with the deadline to rectify the deal in less than 2 weeks, will the president use this information to justify tearing it up? With me now, the Federalist senior editor and Fox News contributor, Mollie Hemingway. Mollie, how does Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech today change the conversation about the Iran nuke deal?
Well, I'm not sure he was aiming toward President Trump, who has always said he doesn't like this deal and has always said he wants to get out of it, so much as those European allies who would also be needed. I mean, if we are to get out of the deal and Europe is staying in, that could end up isolating the U.S. and not doing as much as needs to be done with Iran. So I think this might have been more aimed at those European allies who are wondering what can be done about this deal or how hard to fight for staying in it.
All right, so let's say he's sending a message to Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron saying, you know, hold on to your horses for just a second, guys, because there's so much wrong not only with the deal, but Iran cannot be trusted. We're just overcoming some of our North Korean trust issues, which we'll get to in a little bit with Gordon Chang. But Mollie, how do you overcome some of the nefarious ways that Iran has apparently been acting in light of this deal?
Well, it was funny, too. The people who put together the deal, who were, you know, we kind of call them the Obama bros during the Obama administration, they were known for putting an echo chamber around the deal so that everybody would support it. For years, they have said, you have to support this deal. Iran has been in compliance. It's been in compliance.
And Ben Rhodes said that. I mean, he publicly stated exactly what you just said.
Yes, and now today when we get this other report from Israel, and they are sharing this evidence with other countries, they are saying that, oh, well, we always knew Iran lied. Well, you can't have it both ways. Either you knew that they weren't in compliance, so why were you telling people they were, or, or there's another issue going on. But it is also another issue. What do you do just because they're not in compliance? That is not as easy or cut and dry as possible. The ultimate goal, what Obama said he was doing by signing this deal, was keeping Iran from getting nuclear weapons in 4 different ways. Well, I think he was way too eager for a deal, and he was way too trusting of a group of people that have a history of not being truthful. But what does that mean going forward? I think there's a lot of room to negotiate and a lot of ways that Europe and the U.S. can work together to constrain Iran from developing nuclear weapons, which is the ultimate goal.
But it's interesting because there's a difference between actually solving a problem and doing something to look like you're solving a problem when you're really trying to secure your legacy. And, I would say that's what President Obama was doing, because so much of this is secretive. It was not taken before the Senate. It was not explained properly to the American people. And it really did feel almost like Obamacare, where it was rushed through without a proper airing out or vetting process.
Right. And one of the things, people, it's very easy to get out of this deal precisely because of what you said. It was never ratified by the Senate. It's not a treaty. It's very easy to come in and out of these things. And I think that's something that Donald Trump should keep in mind. One way he's different than Obama is he's saying, I'm happy to walk away from a deal if you don't give me the goods, what he's saying with North Korea. That's a good difference from Obama. The other thing is he should make sure to make the case to the American people, get buy-in, and get that 2/3 of the Senate to sign on to any treaty so that it really is binding.
All right, so let me ask you this, because we talked about this a little bit last week. The president appears to be having a great deal of success on the Korean Peninsula like we haven't seen, perhaps in the history of that country, but certainly in modern history with the last 4 administrations. So if this works in North Korea, will the president apply the same mechanisms to Iran and the Iran deal?
Well, and that's why it is so important how we handle Iran. North Korea is a much more important situation in that they do have nuclear weapons, as opposed to what we're trying to do with Iran, keeping them from getting it. We need to be known as people who keep our word. We also need to be known as tough negotiators. But there's, it is a delicate situation. You want the world to know that when we sign on to something, it really means something. And that's why I do believe the Iran deal was such a corrosive thing, both domestic and internationally. So we have to be very careful. And if Iran lies, that goes double for North Korea, which has such a long history of claiming they're going to give up their nuclear program and not actually doing it. We need to make sure we have much better enforcement mechanisms than what we had in the Iran deal.